So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys, based on the time zones you all are coming from. So guys, before we start with the session, can you all please give me a quick confirmation if you all can see my screen and hear me loud and clear as well? You can all use the questions tab to give me a quick confirmation, everyone, if you all can see my screen and hear me loud and clear as well. Perfect. Thank you so much for the confirmation, everyone. So let me start by introducing myself again. So my name is Neeraj Khedia, and I've been in this IT industry for almost 10 years now. We have worked on leading the global teams for design, development, and marketing of different solutions, which are mostly focused on enterprise solutions for different industry verticals all around the globe. And in terms of training front, I have been actively working as a corporate trainer. We have trained the workforce of multiple companies, including Mercedes, EY, Capgemini, Accenture, and so on, across all, for making sure that they all are updated in the current trends and technologies so that they can deliver a more optimal solution to their clientele, right? And for those who have joined via YouTube, so let me start by introducing our entire meetup community. Now, this is something interesting that we started a while back, guys, where we are conducting webinars on a monthly basis, right? So here we have entire meetup community where we conduct more than 150 plus webinars on every month, right? So we have topics ranging from cloud computing, from the different development technologies, and how we can use those technologies in order to stay ahead to our competition, right? So this is a good platform for keeping ourselves updated on different technologies, on what exactly is happening in these technologies, how we can be a part of it, and how we can get started on learning these different modules, right? And the best part of this entire meetup community is it's completely free, of course. There's no charges that we have to pay for in order to attend these webinars, right? So this can be a really good platform for us to get started on learning these different technologies, because here we have divided each and every webinar into specific topics. So whatever doubts, whatever topic we enroll for, again, we can simply see the complete understanding of the topic, plus followed by a small and short hands-on on top of that particular topic that we will be discussing as a part of the entire webinars here. All right. So let me share this link with everyone here, guys. Let me share the link with everyone here. Here you go. So we have almost more than 12,500 plus members, those who are already a part of this entire webinar platform that we have, or for entire meetup community, right? Where we conduct multiple webinars on a monthly basis, and then we can be well aware of what kind of updates are being done, what exactly are different technologies, and if you want to get started, then this is the best platform for doing that. All right. So now let's resume back to our own module. And as we know, this is the class 9 for our entire journey that we have started on top of DevOps, right? So this is the 9th class or the entire 10th class journey that we have started on DevOps, where we had seen what exactly DevOps is, how we can get started, what are different modules and tools available inside DevOps, and how that can be useful for us. That has been our main motive that we have been achieving as we have continued through our entire session here. All right. So now let's get started. So now, as a part of our 9th module today, guys, here we'll be focusing on the develop of the DevOps tools, that is Puppet, Chef, Ansible, and SaltStack. So we had discussed already Puppet, Chef, and Ansible, what these are and how we can start setting up our configuration management system on top of these, right? And then today our main focus is we'll be having a quick comparison between these 4 main configuration management and deployment tools to see how exactly they compare to each other, because this was also the query from many participants in the previous sessions when we were focusing on Chef, when we were focusing on Puppet, and also on Ansible. All right. So that will be our point of focus today. So the main agenda for today's session is to discuss on what exactly, let me just zoom this on. So the main motive of today's session here, we'll be having a quick understanding of what exactly DevOps lifecycle is, what are the tools in lifecycle, which tools are used for configuration management and deployment and why, and how Chef, Puppet, Ansible, and SaltStack, they do compare to each other, what are their pros and cons, and in which environment they are basically, we can say, best suited for, and for which kind of application, for which kind of environment they are best suited for. That will be a part of discussion today. So if we talk about the entire DevOps lifecycle that we have seen in the earlier session, so first of all, we have the coding, then we have now, first of all, it starts with planning phase, then we move to coding, then building, testing, releasing, deploying, operating, and then at last we have the continuous monitoring phase. So this is now this entire logo itself represents infinity, right? And that's why, and that's exactly what DevOps is. It's a continuous process. It's never ending. It's a continuous process for any application, and that's why the symbol for infinity was also chosen as a part of the DevOps logo, as a part of the entire DevOps logo here. All right. So basically, now this part we had seen in our very first session itself on different strategies and different stages that is a part of entire DevOps here, right? So we had discussed what are the different tools available. We had discussed that in terms of the planning phase here. In terms of planning phase, we have the tools like we have Trello. In terms of continuous development, here we have tools like we have Git, we have SVN, we have Jira, where these all are a part of the version control system, which is basically useful in maintaining different versions of the entire applications, right? That we discussed in our earlier sessions, right? And then we have discussed on the as a part of continuous building phase, and we have tools like we have Apache and Maven's Gradle, right? So again, the Apache and Maven's Gradle, these are one of the most popular tools available for continuous building, where we can use the most popular tool out here is Maven that we have discussed in our first session, right? So the most popular tool out here is Maven in the continuous build and continuous coding and development. Here we have Git as the most popular tool out there. Why Git? Because Git is the most widely used platform. Git has a simple architecture, plus Git is a distributed version control system that we have discussed. So we have discussed we have basically 2 types of version control. We have the centralized and then we have the distributed, where Git is the distributed version control system out here, right? And then we can use Maven as being the most popular tool for the continuous build. For example, if we have developed something on Java, and again we have maintaining multiple versions of it, then we can use tools like we have Mavens in order to build that particular Java component or Java application, because we know that we need to build using the Maven in order to get started on deploying any application, right? Now, once we have the entire application built, then we have tools like we have Selenium, we have JUnit, right? Now, these are the most popular tools for the continuous testing part. Now, when we say continuous testing, here we have Selenium. Now, Selenium, again, we can use Python to write like a small Selenium scripts here, right? So Selenium is the most popular tool for testing purposes. So we can use Selenium in order to attach a script to the component that we are trying to test here. When we say component that we are trying to test, for example, suppose here we have a complete website, right? Now, and in website here we have multiple components that has been placed here. And now if we wish to test only, like, instead of testing the entire website here, we want to test individual components, right? So using the continuous testing platform, what we can do, we can simply create a short script so that, suppose let's say we want to test only this component here, right? So we can simply write a script here for that, and then we can attach it to that particular component, and then we can pass it on so that only this component here can be tested using the Selenium scripts that we add to this particular module here. All right. So I guess there's a question coming up. Okay, I have a question from Umawali. So how to use Mavens when I develop my application in Golang? Okay, so Mavens is a part of if we are using Jenkins, Umawali, then we can create a Mavens project in order to create a pipeline, right? So we can define, okay, how exactly the code will be fetched from the Git repository, and then we can choose Maven project in order to build on top of Maven, right? So whatever structure is and whatever the application that we are trying to develop, we can define how exactly and what kind of codes we have to run in order to build it using Mavens. And the best example, best scenario would be, to use a simple continuous integration management system like we have Jenkins. I'll be showing multiple documentation with you as well towards the end. Is it clear, Umawali? Please give me a quick confirmation. Perfect. Thank you for the confirmation. Now here, Selenium being the most popular tool out here. Now, after the continuous testing, what we have is we have continuous integration. Now in release here, we refer it as continuous integration that we have seen is the core for the entire DevOps strategy, where Jenkins is the most popular tool here. Where Jenkins is the most popular tool as a part of continuous integration. Jenkins is the most popular tool for that part. Why Jenkins? Because Jenkins has the support for almost more than 2,000 plugins. So there are more than 2,000 plugins that are already available in Jenkins that can be used for Okay, Nathan, so is Maven specific for Java application? Mostly it is used for when we are focusing on Java. So Java needs a compilation tool, needs a building tool. So that when we say building, we mean the entire code has to be valid, has to be compiled. Then we have to perform multiple unit testing on top of it, right? Then we have to perform user acceptances, and then we have to perform the entire code review as well. So these all things are done using under Mavens, right? And that's why Mavens are basically used for the continuous building tool as a continuous build tool. And especially when we are focusing on Java, then Java needs an entire building tool in order to be executed. And that's why it is most popular for Java applications. So is it clear, Nathan? Okay, Sumit, so if we have Jenkins, then why we need Mavens and Selenium? Okay, let's revisit this part here, Sumit, to have a complete clarity. Let's go back to our Picasso mode. Let's erase this up. Now, when we have our source code, here, suppose first of all, what we have, suppose here we have our entire GitHub, right, as a source code management system, right? Now, what Jenkins on? When we say Jenkins, Jenkins is sitting at the heart of the entire DevOps strategy, right? Then now Jenkins, as soon as a new code, suppose let's say here we have a developer, right? As soon as developer pushes a code to the central repository here, as soon as a new code is available, this code is now fetched by Jenkins server automatically, right? And now what Jenkins will do, Jenkins will simply send this code to the build platform, like we have Mavens, right? Where Maven will simply compile it, where Maven will simply perform the code review, the testing, and making sure the entire packages is also done using jar and var, right? So this entire continuous building will be done using Mavens. Mavens will not fetch the code here. Mavens will not write the testing script, correct? Now, once the build has been completed, here, now we have the entire building done. Then we pass it on to Selenium. Then we pass it on to Selenium scripts, right? Where we define predefined scripts here that we need in order to test, right? So these testing scripts are then added on top of the build that has been passed on here. Again, Selenium will not fetch the code here. Again, Selenium will not build the code, right? And then whatever testing needs to be done here, this testing layer, we can say testing script is then then integrated with the entire build that has been passed, right? And then it is pushed to the deployment platforms on the testing, production, or the staging servers. So is it clear now, Sumit? Please give me a quick confirmation. Sumit from YouTube. Okay, Mavali, so can we use Docker build command instead of Maven's? Mavali, Docker is basically used for now when we are focusing on Maven's build, right? So in case there are some kind of errors, in case the code is not functional, right? Then that can be shown, that can be known to the developers at the time of continuous build itself, correct? And because again, Docker will not tell that piece of information, correct? Because Docker because as we know, for Docker, first of all, we do need to create the images, and then we need to integrate those images in order to create the Docker, right? That's why Docker is not a continuous building tool. It is basically a deployment tool here. Is it clear, Umavali? Please give me a quick confirmation. Perfect. Thank you for confirming. Perfect. Thank you for the confirmation, everyone. So now let's erase this up. And now let's continue. And then once the entire continuous testing, the continuous integration is done, that's why we use Jenkins, right? That's why Jenkins is the most popular tool for the continuous integration here, right? And once the continuous integration is done here, then we have configuration management tools, right? So shall we discuss configuration management again, Sumit? I think we had already done that in past 8 sessions continuously, right? So here we have configuration management tools, most popularly called as Puppet, Chef, and Ansible. That's a main tool that we have as a part of the most popular tool for the configuration management tools here, right? So basically, if we want to configure multiple servers at once, then we can use these configuration management tools so that we don't have to take care of the manual configuration one by one, right? That's the main purpose and idea of using configuration management tools. For example, one server needs to have PHP 5.7, right? And the same configuration needs to be done for 1,000 other servers. Then without doing that manually, we can use the configuration management tool in order to do that. All right, as a part of the configuration management system out here. And then we move on to the continuous monitoring phase here. Now we have Nagios, where Nagios is the most popular tool for continuous monitoring. Why? Because Nagios has its own dashboard that can be used for maintaining the health check for each and every process here, right? So whatever processes are available as a part of our entire DevOps strategy, we can maintain a health check. That means how efficient each and every process is. And in case of any issue, for example, for some reason Maven is not working, for some reason the GitHub is not working, for some reason Jenkins deployment is not being done correctly, right? So in case of any, or suppose there is a high consumption of any kind of CPU usages or any kind of outage on any of the servers, suppose the Puppet slave is not working, right? Then any kind of issues in any of these systems can be reported and can be monitored using the concept of using the tools that we have, Nagios. And in continuous monitoring, we have tools that we have Nagios, Splunk, and Sensu, but Nagios is the most popular tool out there. All right. All right, so now let's erase this up and now let's move forward. Now, first of all, we have now, since our main goal for today's session is on configuration management tools out here. So that's why we have continuous, or we can say configuration management tools that we have to focus. That is mainly Puppet, Chef, Ansible, and SaltStack. So basically, why exactly we need these tools that we discussed? If we want to deploy application on 5 VMs, we can do that easily. We can configure them easily. But if we want to deploy the same application on 500 VMs, then obviously we have to give a lot of time. Both in we have to invest a lot, both in terms of resource and time as well, right? And even though suppose once we are done configuring those 500 VMs, then again, if you now suppose the next day afterwards, after we came to know now the entire application is not working, we need to update the existing servers, or we need to roll back. Again, it will be a nightmare for the person who is taking care of these actual deployments, right? And that's why it is not possible for a human to deploy application on 500 VMs quickly, right? And that's why we need a configuration management tool for that, right? And so now, second scenario is when we are migrating from test to production, right? So again, this actually does happen, right? So in the testing environment, everything may run smoothly, as smooth as butter, right? Everything may run smoothly without facing any kind of issues. But the moment it is deployed on the production environment, all hell breaks loose, right? Again, that is exactly what happens in the production environment, right? Because again, here in the production environment difference, again, we have to make sure, because again, they are configuration differences, right? So in testing, everything is set to the early conditions. And if we want to test it out, that means if it is working as it should, then we can do that easily using the configuration management tools out here. All right. Then we have here we have few applications that work on test, but not on production. And this has to be handled as per the environment differences. And for that, we need configuration management tools out here, right? Now, application hub. This is also highly useful in application failure. Suppose we got a call at suppose 3 a.m. in the morning or 2:30 a.m. in the morning, right? From the management, okay, why the hell app has stopped working? What did you do, right? But again, being a developer, we have no idea what exactly has happened, right? If we have no idea of what has happened, again, obviously we have to be well known, we have to be well informed, right? And that's why there's no way we can review the change logs, complex ways to roll back. That means we have to have a system that even if there is an application failure, we can easily roll back to the previous system or last known configuration which it was working with, right? That's why we need to also have a application failure. That's why we need to have a configuration management tool, so that even in case of application failure, we can roll back easily. We can roll back easily in those cases, right? Absolutely, Sumit, right? And again, the case study on the third scenario is suppose a travel booking website in UK, 1.2 billion pounds annual, with having 1.2 billion pounds annual revenue. There's a site called the Train Line, right? And the Train Line has almost 9+ million visitors per month, right? And again, huge money loss due to downtime, because again, if we see this now they face three main downtimes, right? They face three main downtimes again, and that's how they face a good amount of loss in terms of revenue, right? So the Train Line is popular in UK. The Train Line is popular in UK. Let me show you their website here. So the Train Line is a popular service offered in UK here, as you can see this, which is basically used for getting the times and tickets, and again for the traveling purposes, right? And they receive a good number of traffic on a daily basis. And again, if they see a downtime for any reason, then that's a huge loss for them, right? And that's why they cannot do away with the configuration management tools put in place, right? That's exactly what they need. Suppose if in any case or for any reason the application is not working or it fails, then there should be a platform, there should be an application that can roll back to the last known configuration which was working for them, right? And that's exactly we need the configuration management and deployment tools for the IT automation part. We do need that. And this scenario was also observed as at NYCE, so as in New York Stock Exchange. So in NYCE, so again, they had updated to a new software, and again it was in testing, it was working perfectly without any kind of errors, right? But when the market opened the next day, almost out of the entire 90 systems here, 24 systems went down, right? And they had no idea on what went wrong here. And again, since it is a critical business out here, right? So with each and every passing minute, in New York, the stock exchange market faces a huge loss of money, right? And just to make sure that these losses are minimized, right? That's why we have to make sure that we do have a system. And that's why, thanks to to the New York Stock Exchange technical team, they had the configuration management system put in place, right? That's why they were able to roll back to the last known configuration in the least time possible, right? And that's how they manage the entire we can say downtime. And that's why they were able to restrict the downtime only to 90 minutes, right? That's why they recovered the entire application in less than 90 minutes. And that's how they saved a good amount of money, and both for them and both for the stakeholders as well, in order to avoid this disaster. And that's exactly what we need configuration management tools for. Okay, Nitin, so in the complex DevOps model where we have Kubernetes, Terraform, how configuration management tools fit in. So in complex systems, Nitin, the requirement for these configuration management systems are more than the normal and simpler applications, right? Because there we have multiple servers, and especially for large scale application, there we have multiple servers, and that's why we need to make sure that to manage that in those entire the fleet of servers, right? We do have a configuration management system put in place so that we can roll the update. We can simply pass on the updates as well easily. We can simply roll back. If you want, we can simply roll back the updates as well, exactly as per our own requirement. It's a cleaner then, and I'll be showing, and again, we'll be showing a good use case towards the end and how we can configure a complex system out here as well. Okay, Mavali. So I have one doubt: which tool is best if I need to automate the on-prem storage automation? I'll be showing you multiple tools for that, Umad. So I'll be showing you multiple tools for that towards the end of the session, so that we can have a complete clarity on top of it, step by step. All right. Perfect. I hope it's okay. Thank you for confirming, Sumit, for the voice. I hope it is clear for you as well, Sofian. All right, so now let's move forward. So now this is the correct time to understand what exactly configuration management is that we had discussed already. So basically it is used for making sure that each and every node, or we can say each and every node or system connected to this application here, they all are having the consistent configuration throughout. Suppose if we have 100 servers, if we have 1,000 servers, right? So now manually, if we are configuring those servers here, or manually, even if we configure 10 servers, then there is a chance that 1 or 2 servers may be misconfigured. 1 or 2 servers here may be misconfigured here, right? And just to make sure that this does not happen, we can simply use a configuration management tool where we have a set template, right? Where we write down all the configuration that needs to be done. And the same template is used to configure each and every server here, right? So that there's no even chance of having a different configuration than on any of these systems, because they all will be following the same template using the configuration management system that we'll be working on. All right, and that is exactly what we have and what we mean by configuration management tools here. And then we have push and pull configuration. Right here goes Sumit. Right here we have a push and pull for some that we had discussed yesterday as well. So basically, let's have a quick recap as we discussed this yesterday as well. Okay, let's revisit this part here. Now, basically, configuration in configuration management tools here we have two things. Here we have two different scenarios here. We have push based, we have push, and then we have pull. Here we have push, and then we have pull based. In push based system, what happens? We have a master in place. Now here we have master in both, in push and pull as well. Here we have master node, or we can say master system here, right? And on this master system, with this master system, there are multiple slaves connected, right? So here we have multiple slaves connected as a node. We can say if we have 10 different systems, 10 different servers, then these are referred as 10 different slaves here, right? Now in push-based configuration, what happens? Master will not, first of all, fetch the information from the slaves what exactly the configuration is, right? So what master does, master will simply push the configuration that needs to be done on these different slaves, or we can say nodes here, right? So what happens in push-based configuration? Suppose here the master is using one particular configuration file here, right? So here master has one configuration file with the list of all the configuration that needs to be done on each and every server here, on each and every slave here, right? So master will use the same configuration management, the configuration management template, and then it will push the same configuration on different slaves here, right? This is a setup of configuration of push-based configuration management system, right? And then we are focusing on pull-based, and in pull-based, what happens? Again, there's a simple master, the same master available at the center. Then we have multiple slaves attached to it, right? Now, what it will do it now in pull, what happens? First of all, master will pull the information from any single node here to get the what slave will do. Slave will simply push the configuration. That means what is the current configuration? Suppose currently they have been configured with the PHP version of 5.7, 5.7 here, right? Now, master based on the template. Now this master node here, based on the template what it has, the entire slaves architecture has to be configured with PHP 7. For example, PHP 7 here, right? Now, once the master has received this information that this one is having 5.7, right? Then master will again send the configuration back to the slave to configure accordingly as per the system shared here, right? As per the template shared here. And once the configuration is done, then slave will again send a message back to master stating the status of the configuration. That means if the configuration is done, completed, and now what is the current status, right? And this is done for each and every slave here as a part of pull-based configuration, here, right? So in simple terms, what happens? Suppose if we have master, if we have slave. So first of all, slave will send information to master, what the configuration is, right? And once master receives that information, then master will again push to the slave to configure accordingly. And then once the update has been done, again the slave will send information back to master about the status of the configuration change that has been done, whether it is successful or whether it has failed, and what is the current configuration of the slave here. All right. So are we all clear on the push and pull based configuration? Please give me a quick information, guys. Are we all clear on the concept of push and pull based configuration, everyone? Please give me a quick information, everyone. Shyam, Satyam, Sumit, Rohit, Umavali. Wonderful. So now let's clear this out. And that's it here. Now Puppet works on pull based, Ansible works on push based configuration, Chef works on pull based, and SaltStack works on push based, right? So Puppet and Chef that we had discussed yesterday, they both work on pull, and Ansible and SaltStack, they both work on push based configuration, right? So Puppet we have seen. So Puppet is also a configuration management tool, and Puppet here basically works on the push based configuration, right? And basically, Puppet is basically used for deployment, configuring, and managing servers. And it uses the master and slave architecture that we had configured yesterday, right? So here we have the Puppet master, and then we have Puppet agents here. All right. And master slave architecture that we had discussed just now. First of all, node, that means the slave will send the notification, send the configuration that is currently done, that is currently node is having, right? So first of all, node will send the configuration, what exactly the configuration is, and then Puppet master will send the configuration files back to node. That means what exactly needs to be configured. And once the configuration is done, then node will send a report back to master reporting whether the configuration was successful or failure, and what is the current configuration after the if the updation has been successful, right? So basically here we have again now the entire connection between master and slave is done using the SSL as a secure socket layer. So here Puppet will simply send a request first of all for getting the master certificate. Master, based on this request, master will send the certificate back. Again, it will also request for slave certificate as well. Slave will also send the certificate back as well. And then slave will request for data, and then Puppet will send the data back as a part of entire secured system out here. All right. And now let's talk about Ansible. So Ansible is also a configuration management, deployment, and orchestration tool that we discussed in our last to last session. And again, it is a push-based configuration management tool, just like we have Puppet. So here we said now Ansible simply pushes the configuration to different servers out here, right? So whether it is application servers or databases or multiple nodes, it simply pushes the entire configuration that needs to be done, right? And again, it can simply help us in automating our entire IT infrastructure for the larger gains, right? And Ansible, again, it is simpler to use because again, configuration and using the playbook of Ansible is simpler, is easier as compared to Puppet, right? Again, it is agentless. That means here we don't need to set up any kind of agents because again, here it works only on the push base, right? And again, it is also powerful because again, it can work with complex architecture with ease and is highly efficient as well. That means again, we can use it by integrating it with any programming languages that is available, right? And then if we have to focus on the Ansible architecture, then basically here we write multiple playbooks. Just like we have manifest, we have a template, right? Same way, Ansible has a playbook where we can define all the configuration that needs to be done, and then that particular playbook can be used for configuration of different servers out here, right? That is exactly what Ansible's entire architecture is built on, right? And as a simple example for playbook that we had developed in our last 2 hours session, so here we have a simple example for playbook that we discussed, right? So suppose if you want to install NTP, now this is the task name, again, which package, what should be the state of it, right? Same way, if you want to install VIM here, again, what should be the packages, the state, again, if you wish to start the NTP service, then again, what should be the state and how it has to be handled, right? So each and every configuration is done using the playbook that we had discussed as a part of Ansible, here. All right. So this is simply the same setup that we had discussed here just now, right? Now, how to use Ansible that we had discussed. So first of all, here we can use Ansible for application deployments, for configuration management, for orchestration of different services here, and for security and compliance as well. Because again, when we are working with this scale application, we also have to focus on making sure that it also meets all the compliances being set by the authorities. Just a moment, guys. Let me just clear out my throat. Just a moment. So basically, Ansible we had discussed, it is used for orchestration as well. When we are focusing, suppose let's say we have an application, right? If we have an application, maybe where we need to install the LAMP stack, deploy HTML and PHP files on the web servers, and gather and store data from the website. Suppose if we have form there, right? Again, we want that form. Anyone filling that form should be saved. The data should be saved in the MySQL database server, right? Then we can use Ansible to make application all done using Ansible here, right? And again, if we have to compare these again, Puppet versus Chef versus SaltStack and Ansible. Now, basically here, let's start evaluating each and every of these different tools out there based on these 5 main pointers: scalability, ease of setup, availability, management, and interpretability. Let's discuss on each and every two of these tools based on these 5 main parameters, right? If we have to compare these 4 on the grounds of scalability, then Puppet, and again, these all are highly scalable. This can be used for management of a slow, or we can say low scale application to any high scale application. For example, if we have a full-fledged mailing service, if we have full-fledged mailing application or a networking application, right, then that can be easily managed using these 4 configuration management systems out here, right? Now, based on ease of setup, as we know, Ansible is the easiest out of the entire lot here, right? Because again, Ansible it has only master running on the servers. Where we don't have to configure any agents like we did on Puppet, right? So when we are focusing on Puppet, first of all, here we need to make sure that Puppet server is running on the master machine, and then we have Puppet agents running on each and every client machine that we had done yesterday, right? Same way, the master agent structure is also followed for the SaltStack. And in Chef also, we have the entire Chef server should run on the master, and Chef clients should run on the agents machine, right? And the client machine again requires no special setup, and hence it is faster to set up as compared to these others, right? And so that's why in ease of setup, in ease of usage, especially for the first-time doers, again, Ansible is the easiest platform out of the entire lot, right? Availability in terms of making sure the entire application is available, it is having a high fault tolerance. Then each and every platform is on the same grounds, right? So again, same as Puppet has multi-master architecture, right? So again, if the active master goes down, the other master takes place, because again, that's how it is entirely structured, right? Same way in SaltStack, also we have multiple masters. Again, if one goes down, the other master can take his place, right? In the Ansible here, right? Now, Ansible since runs with the active single active mode, right? That's why here it is called as primary instance. Again, if it goes down, again, then we have a secondary instance to take its place, right? Same as the Chef as well. Again, we have Chef server. Again, it has a backup server as well in order to take place of the primary server in case of any failures. And that's why each and every of these are having a high fault tolerance, right? Now, in management, there's a 50-50. So in management, Ansible always tops the chart, being the most easier and most manageable tool available out there. Because again, it is easier to learn to manage the configuration, server pushes configurations to all nodes, and it is good for real-time and real-time application with remote execution, right? So since it is easier to set up here, that means again, if we want to focus or if we want to set this up for any ongoing application, then that will be much easier for doing that. And that's why here we have Ansible here. So Ansible is basically used for management of all the configuration, because again, since it is easier to use, again, it is much easier to understand how to manage the entire systems out here, right? And that's why if you want to deploy this right away for any ongoing applications, now Puppet will be hard, because again, here we have to first of all set the entire infrastructure, same as Chef as well. But since Ansible has no such requirements, again, it will be a first choice, especially for real-time applications and easier deployment, right? Same as SaltStack as well. All right. Then we have interportability. So again, it is available for each and every of these platforms, because in Puppet here we can work only on Linux and Unix, but Puppet agent can also work on Windows, right? Same as Ansible. Ansible supports Windows as well as Ansible supports Linux and Unix machine as well. Again, these all platforms are supported by each and every of these platforms, and that's what makes them highly customizable, right? And again, if we have to give this a final scorecard, then again, Puppet stores are in terms of scalability, they all are same. In terms of setup, again, Ansible scores the mark here. In terms of availability, again, all the same. Management, again, Ansible and SaltStack, they score here. And again, in terms of interportability, Ansible, and again, Ansible and all the other platforms are on the same scale. And towards the end goal, towards the end score here, Ansible scores it all. Ansible is the easiest and most efficient configuration management tool available out here. Now, Puppet may be suitable for some case scenarios, but and same as Chef as well. But again, Ansible is, we can say, an all-rounder, which having the highest performance delivered and being the most, we can say, most easier platform in order to start working on as a part of configuration management system out here. And again, if we have now, let's go ahead and compare these different scenarios as well. First of all, here we can talk about the configuration management systems here. For example, if we talk about the configuration language that is used for these platforms, right? So in Puppet, again, configuration, again, we use DSL. And again, for not easy to learn, administrator oriented, that how it is DSL for Puppet here. But again, in Ansible, we can use as simple as YAML. And this is based on Python, right? YAML is what? Simply yet another markup language. Again, it is much easier to learn, having the least amount of grammar as compared to other applications, other languages. Again, these are also administrator oriented, right? And our Python is inbuilt into most Unix and Linux deployment nowadays. So that's why getting the tool up and running is easier as well, right? And in terms of Chef, again, Chef uses DSL as well. Again, it is mostly developer oriented, not the administrator oriented. And SaltStack again uses YAML. Again, it is much easier to learn. So again, YAML, so again, SaltStack and Ansible scores in this configuration language department. In terms of GitHub Activity, here, again, in Puppet here, we have almost 90 now. Here, contributors can be 355, commits can be almost 20,000, branches can be 9, releases can be 21, right? And Ansible, again, here we have almost 1,000 plus contributors, which has done who have done 13,000 commits, and currently we have 33 branches and 57 releases done. Obviously, Puppet is most popular in this scenario here. Again, SaltStack is also popular in terms of the commits being done by the different developers out here, right? And so as Chef, right? So here, there's a tough competition between Puppet and Ansible here. Now, in terms of the enterprise costing, here, Puppet Enterprise costs almost $12,000. Ansible is priced at 10. SaltStack is priced at 15K, and Chef, being the cheapest among the entire lot, is priced at 7,200. Right? And in terms of popularity, Puppet is the most popular tool. But again, since last almost more than a couple of years, the popularity of Ansible has increased multifolds, right? So obviously, Ansible at that time was not that much popular. But again, the popularity has increased multifolds, and now it has surpassed that of Puppet, as you can see here. Where SaltStack has been the least popular, then followed by Chef, then followed by Ansible earlier, but now Ansible is now leading this last lot, followed by Puppet. And if you talk about the one of the biggest use cases of these different platforms here, and Puppet is having almost 75% of the intercontinental exchange, right? Again, there are more than 20,000 servers are managed by Puppet as a part of NYCE. Like we have New York Stock Exchange, right? And that's one of the main clientele. All right, it's one of the main clientele is handled by Puppet, right? And then in Ansible here, we can talk about FatMap. Again, this is the review. Using Ansible, we have been able to cut down the certain processes from 17 hours to 3 minutes, right? And then SaltStack, again, is backed by LinkedIn. And then Chef is backed by Gannett. Right? So these are all having their own deployment, their own use cases in which they are doing really well. And companies are really happy with the entire deployment done by these. Where Ansible is definitely new. Okay, I think the query was answered by our team here. So guys, by now, I guess all of us must be having a complete clarity on the selected tools. Again, there's nothing as a best tool. Okay, which one is best among the entire slot here, right? Obviously, one has more advantage over the others, but again, it comes down to our own requirements, right? And that's exactly what we have to do is, depending upon our own requirement, we have to choose the tools here wisely. So now, time for one of the best part of this entire session, a short Q&A, guys. So any questions or anything you want to ask or you want to have a clarity on, please feel free to drop your questions, guys, as much as you want. Any questions or any doubts you might have that you want clarity on? And how has been the feedback? I hope you all love the session. You all have been liking the session and liking the entire journey that we have started as a part of DevOps. Please feel free to give your feedbacks as well, guys, in the comment sections, in the questions tab. I hope you all have been continuous. Like I can see there are multiple joinees here who have been consistent from the first session itself. So how has been your feedback in the entire journey? If you have any questions that needs to be sorted, please feel free to do that, guys. No problem, Badri. So Badri, so we'll be having our next session tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for your appreciation, Chandrakant. So we'll be having our session tomorrow at the same time. As a part, we can say tomorrow we'll be having our 10th class as a part of our entire journey on DevOps, right? And as a part of tomorrow's session, we'll be focusing on the Nagios tool. How we can use what exactly is continuous monitoring and how we can get started with Nagios in our tomorrow session. Thank you so much for the appreciation, Sumit. Okay, so now if we have query web developers as a new entrants in the field go for creating portfolios to show their talent. What options are available for DevOps new entrants? So basically here we are focusing on getting up. Being a new entrant, what we do is we simply focus on making sure that we are doing our projects, right? And then the deployment now of those different tools now, because what we do is we simply have to maintain our entire documentation part here, right? So basically here we have to focus on making sure we are having a good number of projects that is well known. Again, we can showcase them, and then we can talk about how we have worked on actual deployment, how we have handled multiple situations, and that will be really appreciated when we talk about that, especially in the interview sections, right? When we are going for a specific on different profiles, especially in DevOps, again, that will be a good, and that itself will be a good part of the entire portfolio, making your entire portfolio stronger. Okay, Badri, so for DevOps, do we need to learn any scripting languages if necessary? Not specifically, Badri, but again, if we have a good clarity on Java, on shell script, again, then that will be great, or even in Python as well. So if you have a good understanding of shell script, Python, Java, then that will be great. But again, it is not mandatory. But again, if we have a good understanding of it, again, things will become much easier for us. Because again, if we are trying to implement, because see, when we can work on the entire structure, we can work on the entire setup, but again, but when we are trying to execute things and we are trying to write the scripting language, as we know, we have multiple scripts that needs to be created, right? So at that time, we do require the knowledge of scripting languages, right? And again, if we are good with, suppose, let's say we can learn Python, because Python is completely dynamic, and again, it has multiple use cases across different scenarios. And we can start by learning Python as well, because the main advantage of Python is, again, it is really easy to understand, especially for beginners. And plus Python has multiple libraries that we can take advantage of. And writing anything on Python is much easier and much quicker as compared to other languages, especially for those who are coming through non-IT backgrounds. So I hope that's clear with you, Badri. And our team has answered that as well. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Sumit, so I was certified engineer. How can I get the right path to get jobs in DevOps? So it's great to know, Sumit, that you are already AWS certified engineer. So in DevOps, again, we have the complete full-fledged certification also offered on AWS done using DevOps. So how to perform DevOps on top of AWS? So again, if you can manage that, again, that will be great for you, because again, DevOps is again done using multiple platforms on AWS, correct? So let me share this entire link with you here as well. Because now currently we have been discussing on the open source tool, right? On open source tool here. So again, if you already have a familiarity with the AWS platform here, then we can go ahead and start doing the DevOps on top of AWS as well, right? So here we have so here we can browse through the entire certification here, where we can have a good understanding of how to complete, of how to carry out the entire concepts of DevOps using the tools offered by AWS platform, and how we can integrate it using some other open source tool as well. And then we can have a good chance of again of landing up a good profile, a good job as a part of AWS certified DevOps engineer. Perfect. So Badri, okay, so I'm working on IT but not in development side. So I'm trying to learn the DevOps. What are the basic knowledge that we need to learn before entering the DevOps? So Badri, as we have mentioned, so you can start by learning Python as well, right? And for DevOps, we need to have a good understanding of how the structure works, right? So I think we had covered that part. But again, in terms of having a good and sound knowledge of development, you can start with learning Python side by side. So you can start learning DevOps, and side by side, parallelly, you can start also working on Python, so that you can perform so you can have a good understanding of both. First of all, DevOps will be clarifying of how things has to be done, and again, in terms of execution, Python will be enabling you to do that. Is it clear, Badri? Please give me a quick confirmation. Perfect. Thank you so much for the confirmation, everyone. So I hope you really enjoyed today's session here, guys. So please, again, as always, you all will be getting the same NPS feedback form towards the event and the webinar here. So please do rate us excellent in the feedback form as a small token of appreciation for the hard work and time that we have put in. And for those who are joining you via YouTube, so please feel free to drop your likes in the video itself. And let's hope to see you all soon in our tomorrow's session at the same time. All right. So thank you so much for joining, guys, and have a great day ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.